Hi, I'm Dr. Angela Stevenson. I work at the Guiomar in Kiel, and I'm originally from Canada. So I grew interested in working on seagrass and looking at mitigation of climate change through just from the early days when I was beachcombing on the St. Lawrence estuary where I grew up in Quebec. There was beautiful lush meadows, and through the years from my young self to my teenage years, I really saw a change in this ecosystem. First fish started washing up and frogs from the tributaries. And so I really started and I grew interested and continued on to university to look at biodiversity and its conservation.
No?
I mean, this one, I think this is just 1.5. Yeah, so right now we're doing experiments to see how the seagrass will fare under future climate scenarios. So we're really stressing them. We have plants that are at what we might expect the ambient, what we call ambient temperature. So the same temperature and conditions you might see in the fjord. And then we also have plants that are 1 degree higher temperature, 2, 3, all the way up to 5.5 to really see how they will fare under long-term warming stress in the future. So we expect to see that in the Baltic Sea in many years to come, and we want to just be ready to prepare to see how these plants will do under those circumstances. So they take up that CO2 and they store it below ground. And that's really the benefit of this, is they store that carbon for centuries to millennia. And that's another issue with restoration. We can restore an area, but if the temperatures go up to those, 26 degrees Celsius and above, and are prolonged for months on end, which we might see in the future with climate change, then that could really pose an issue for that whole system. It may entirely die. And so one of the aspects we're looking into now is trying to find a way to adapt these plants.
Connect stories with each other. So if we have to teach them, then it would be also great that they digest them, and so it's not like that.
The seeds, they're like kind of like big chia seeds, is what I compare. Yeah, so in these tanks, we're heat treating them through different generations. We're just hitting them with different heat waves to try and see if we can get them to become more resilient to warmer temperatures. In terms of capturing CO2, they can do that immediately. If you plant a seagrass right now, tomorrow, it will start immediately to capture CO2 and sequester it. And the important part is long-term in the sediment beneath the seagrass. It will be stored. But long-term, it doesn't accumulate CO2 going forward. It won't accumulate enough CO2 going forward to get us to net zero. If we were to restore all of the seagrass areas in Germany that have lost seagrass, so areas that are unvegetated in the Baltic Sea, we could get only 100, up to 100 kilotons of CO2 annually, which is a very small percentage of the German budget. So seagrasses, forests, peatlands have for centuries to millennia captured CO2 and been storing them for us. And so a big aspect to think about here is conservation. It's to conserve these systems to make sure that that CO2 does not get re-emitted and further add to these emissions.